Standing here today in the city that raised me, I feel something that I didn't fully understand for most of my life. I feel at home in my own story. Because like so many children who grow up in Compton, I started out believing that the world was big and that I would have to become something extraordinary to walk in its most important rooms. And over the years, I did walk into those rooms. Television studios, corporate offices, interview sets with people whose names were known around the world, and for a long time, I thought that those were the places where significance lived. But what I know now, what this moment has taught me, is that every bit of poise, every ounce of courage, and every measure of grace I carried into those spaces was born right here. On streets like Poinsettia Avenue, on Tartar Lane, in living rooms where the doors were always open, at dinner tables where my parents made room for one more chair, in neighborhoods that believed in education, discipline, service, and imagination. So if I ever seemed confident in those big rooms, it's because Compton had already told me who I was. My earliest memories are on Poinsettia Avenue, playing outside from morning to night with all of our friends on the block. We ate sunflower seeds, we called them poly seeds. We pulled lemons from the trees, we sucked on them with salt until our lips puckered, and we went around the corner to the A-frame dairy for Jolly Ranchers and Now and Laters. And we always had to keep an eye out for Butch, the mean neighborhood dog, who would come tearing around the corner and send us all running. Now this was before computers and cell phones, so we had our imagination. We had the sunny outdoors and we had each other. And we were riding bikes, climbing trees, jumping rope, putting together bake sales and organized drill team shows in the backyard. It was freedom, it was laughter, it was an idyllic Southern California childhood right here in Compton. And that community didn't just watch us, it poured into us. We were blessed to live right next door to the Henry family. Craig, his three brothers, and his mother, Mary Henry, a pillar of our community, known nationally for her leadership in education and civil rights, and for her work on President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty Task Force that helped create Head Start. But to us, she was simply the mother next door. Craig walked me home from school. He took me trick-or-treating. When I was about 6 years old, I would knock on their door and ask, "Mrs. Henry, can Craig come out to play?" And even though he was a teenager, he would. And every year on his birthday, Craig would come to our house and take out our trash because Mary Henry, his mother, taught her sons that on their birthday, they were to perform acts of service for someone else. And across the street, I had another big sister and brother in Mona and Henry Jones. Henry, a classically trained pianist and naval commander, and Mona, as you've heard, my basketball coach. That's the kind of village that raised me. When I was 8 years old, we moved to Tartar Lane next to Compton College, and the village just got bigger. The Armstrong family lived 2 doors down, and their home was like our second home. Mrs. Armstrong, she was an exceptional homemaker, a gifted cook, a painter, a teacher from Louisiana who taught us calligraphy and typing. I actually won a typing award in high school because of her. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I would walk into their house, open the refrigerator, and ask, "What you got to eat?" And she would sit me down and serve me homemade Belgian waffles with walnuts and creme fraiche like it was nothing. Danny and David Armstrong were like our brothers. One Christmas, David and I, thick as thieves, we got unicycles, tearing up our ankles learning to ride, and we rode them all over the city of Compton. In the summers, we jumped the fence to Compton College to take enrichment classes at College for Kids and swimming lessons in the Olympic-sized pool. The recreation program was run by Olympic track and field gold medalist Euless Williams. And our swim teachers did not play. We had to swim laps to warm up. If we tried to stop, they would yell, "Get off the side!" And we weren't offended. They made us strong. They built our endurance. They taught us discipline. And as a teenager, through the college's study abroad program, I spent a summer in Madrid, Spain, studying language and culture, further opening my life to the world. And just beyond our neighborhood was Richland Farms, where we learned to ride our horses, and where I saw my first black cowboys, the men who taught us to sit tall in the saddle. Not long after that, my sisters before me, my very first job was right here in Compton at the original McDonald's on Long Beach Boulevard. It was owned by the Hurd family. We saw firsthand what it meant for a black family to own a successful business, to lead and to employ young people from right in the neighborhood, and we were so proud to wear that uniform. We were taught to look every customer in the eye, to serve with a smile, and to treat every person with dignity and respect, no matter what kind of day they were having. And when someone who clearly had nothing walked into McDonald's, a free meal would quietly be prepared and handed to them with care. No announcement, no judgment, just compassion. So long before I ever stepped into a television studio, that shiny stainless steel counter on Long Beach Boulevard taught me how to see people. All of our friends had hard-working parents who believed in education and discipline. Danny and David's father, Reginald Armstrong, was the town's lawyer, and like my parents, believed in living in the community you served. After the miniseries Roots came out, we jokingly and secretly nicknamed our fathers Massa because they were such taskmasters. At our house, there were no excuses. If you weren't doing well in school, instead of criticizing the teacher, my father would say, "Well, clearly you haven't spent enough time with the book. You need to burn the midnight oil." Love, discipline, and excellence all at the same time. But what I remember most about my father was not what he said, it was how he lived. Every night without fail, we sat down at the dinner table together. And if there was a knock on the door, my father would always say, "Come on in, fix a plate." He quietly mentored young black men in the community, always greeting them with, "How are you, fella?" Making sure they felt seen. And every holiday, he brought his childhood friend Giles, who lived with schizophrenia and spent much of his life in an institution, to our dinner table so that Giles would never be alone. While he was serving at Compton College, my father kept a chess set in his office, and every evening before he went home, he made a move. And then later, when the building was quiet, the janitor would come in and make the next move. And they played that game for years without ever needing an audience. Everyone mattered to my father. My mother colored our lives with art and culture. So growing up, going to Compton Civic Symphony performances was just normal for us. My sister Daph talks about how my mother once slipped her a Hershey bar and a bag of Fritos just to help her sit through the concert. But Mom was giving us a world we didn't even know we were receiving. And because of my parents' work in the community, there were times when we would look up and realize who was actually sitting in our living room. The likes of Maya Angelou and Andrew Young. And it was Andrew Young who told my sister Daphne that she should apply to the historically black Spelman College. And she did. And I followed her because I copied everything she did. And today, more than 30 of our first and second cousins have graduated from Spelman. All from one conversation in a home in Compton. That is what this city does. It creates ripples that become generations. Our roots here run deep. My Aunt Mel, who is here today, devoted her life to Compton Adult School. Her twin, my late Aunt Stuff, poured love into thousands of students at Compton High School as a guidance counselor. My sister Daphne began her legal career in the Compton City Attorney's Office and now, as you heard, serves as judge. But long before the robe and the bench, she created a free ballet program right here in Compton so that any child could step into the discipline and the beauty of ballet. After all, it was Lynn Columbus Dance Studio right on Long Beach Boulevard where we first learned ballet. The city didn't just raise one of us, it raised all of us to serve. And this honor carries all of their names with it. So when I stand here and accept this key to the city, I do so humbly, as a reflection of the people, the educators, the neighbors, the mentors, and the family who made me who I am. Compton taught me to walk into any room with my head held high, not because of where I had been, but because of where I came from. And just like that dinner table growing up, this honor reminds me that there is always room for one more chair. This honor belongs to all of you. Thank you so much.